Right. Can you all hear me? So we can get
Yeah,
the session started, and then if others join, then we can sort of continue from there. Um, well, before we sort of dive into today's session, I wanted to just check and see how everything's going for you guys. Probably would you like to go first? Like, how has everything been going for you over the last few days? Have you had any challenges or
yeah,
any thoughts that you want to share with me?
sure. So I think, as I said, I was on a holiday. We're all, it's over now. It's the new year, so I wanted to kind of quickly get started and not kind of push that anymore. So, as I said, I had prepped over the weekend, so that kind of helped me quite a bit. So from Monday, post like the call we had, the morning kind of helped where you gave some options in terms of, if you don't, for the rice, you could use the cauliflower rice and, intake of your protein and stuff like that. So that's what I've been trying to do so that, as I said, I do eat small meals. So I have to eat full, just that I'm not hungry again in next 2 hours and go snacking. So that's the change what I've done. And I've also gone ahead and done a bit of shopping in terms of, um, you know, um, having a lot of veggies and fruits. So that's kind of helping me. I think my veggie intake has really increased over the last 3 days, I should say. So every meal I'm kind of having a little bit of, spinach, just whatever veggies, just a salad, a quick one is what I make. So that keeps me full. And then of course for the fiber, it's chicken or I'd already prepped for some fish patties at home with sweet potatoes. So that's what I'm kind of doing. And then I did try the cauliflower rice. That was really, really a good suggestion. And thank you. It kind of, gives you the rice texture, though I'm not a major
Mm.
fan of rice, but I really liked it. So that was good.
Excellent. Miriam, how about yourself? What has it been like for you over the last few days? I know you've been updating your food pictures, which have been, they look amazing, by the way. How has it been for you?
So with food wise, it's been okay, because I try to, as much as I can, religiously follow the plan because I know that if I don't at least try and do that, I will basically not be able to follow anything. So I basically been trying to
Sorry,
follow the food
Miriam.
plan.
Sorry, Miriam.
Oh,
You're breaking up a little bit, so I couldn't quite hear what you said there. Could you just repeat that again, please? I'm really sorry.
no, that's fine. I'm just trying to see if I've got a solution. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, better.
Okay, yeah. No, so I was saying that I've been following the meal plan and trying to do so religiously, um, with like variations where I need. So I think that's been going really well in terms of still get the fun of like experimenting with recipes, which is something I enjoy. I do enjoy vegetables and yeah. So I've been enjoying that. But I definitely have been feeling very hungry.
Miriam, you're breaking up
So
again. I'm so sorry.
oh,
I heard you
I
said
think
you're
it's the
enjoying the
network
vegetables.
because
Oh,
yeah, so oh sorry, can you hear me now?
yeah, it's weird. I can hear bits of
Okay.
you. So, I mean, yeah, why don't you continue
Okay.
and then if it doesn't work so well, then I'll switch to Yuri and then hopefully once you're in a bit more of a stable place, we can come back.
Yeah, I think so. I think if we switch to Yuri, I'm almost home. I'll be
Okay.
inside and yeah, it might be better.
Huh. Okay. Hi, Yuri. Thanks for
Hi,
joining.
I made it.
You made it.
I thought
Excellent.
I thought I'll miss it, but
Oh no, it's lovely to see you here. So I basically I've just been asking, how have the last few days been for everybody? Have there been any challenges? Is there anything you want to share in particular? I know that you've also been updating your food on the app as well, so it's great to see, the kind of food that you've been eating. And you did have, I mean, I gave you a little suggestion on the app as well, but how about you share with the group how it's been for you?
yeah, for following not eating carb point of view, I'm doing great, I think, as um I'm not eating any it's like rice or bread, those like obvious carb. And then I do a bit of extra research on what kind of vegetable I should be taking and not taking. So I am avoiding all those potatoes and sweet potatoes, which I love, but but I do have one question. I did send you a message in separately as well, but for a Japanese cooking, it requires quite lots of sugar. And then when I cook for whole family together, like for my portion as well, it is very difficult to cut the sugar out. But I am using monk fruit sugar.
Using
Is
what,
it
sorry?
monk fruit sugar?
Oh yes, yeah, that's perfect. That's actually a really good replacement. I would have given that as a suggestion anyway. So yeah, if you're using monk fruit, I think that's a great replacement.
Okay. So
It does
then,
not raise blood sugar levels.
okay. So one question is it still better not to use, or it is absolutely okay to use it?
Okay, so if you need it in your food for taste, and if you're used to it, it's a good replacement to have. Like I if I'm sweetening something, I would use monk fruit. If you can go without that sweetness, because sometimes what happens is when you eat something that mimics the sweet taste, your brain then
Mm,
craves it and is expecting something sweet, and then sometimes that can raise blood sugar levels.
okay.
But if you
Mm,
are going to be using it as a replacement, sometimes it's really difficult to just go from having something sweet to not having something sweet. For example, like if you're used to having tea with a bit of sugar in there, and then you decide, right, I'm going to no longer have sugar. If you just take it out, you're not going to enjoy the way it is. So you're cooking for your whole family, and it's a particular taste that you and your family are used to, then actually as a replacement, it's great, and you can use that. If you then find, for example, that you start to use monk fruit, but then all of a sudden you're really craving chocolates or you're craving sweet things, then it might be a good idea to sort of cut back on it. But if at the moment it's working as a great replacement for you and your family, then I would say it's fine to continue using it as it is.
okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Sarita, hi, thanks for joining. We're just checking in with everybody to see how the last few days have been. Would you like to share your last few days, and if you've had any challenges or any sort of thoughts so far on the program? Sarita, are you there? Oh, maybe she's not there. So should we switch over to Miriam?
Hey, so I'm still in the gym, so hopefully it's clearer, but let me know if it cuts out. I can quickly type it out in the chat. No, so I was saying, I think meal plan wise, I've been really enjoying experimenting with the healthy meals, and I'm trying as much as I can to stick to the meal plan, and then with variations where I need to. So that's
Yeah.
been going okay, I think. I think my biggest test was being in the office today, because I definitely was like, oh, I've got some noodles and some rice for lunch, and I feel like after a half day hard work in the office, I deserve it. But I think I ended up convincing myself to get some soup, so I just got some soup and salad, which was okay, and it definitely has kept me. And then I also got like a protein shake, just because I was going to the gym, so yeah, I feel quite good because I didn't think I would make it through an office day.
Oh no, that's amazing. That's really good. And I find that, when it's out of your control and you are, say, going out or going into the office, that is when the real challenge does tend to hit. Okay, so the last couple of days, last 3 days, the lessons that we've covered have been about meal planning, cleaning out your kitchen, and also getting your shopping in. And I know these are kind of basic steps to take, sort of with regards to a program. But have there been any key takeaways that you've sort of found within these lessons that you feel, oh, I needed to do this, or yes, this is going to work for me, or something that may not work for you? Robert, would you like to go first?
Um, So I think, as I said, I do snack a little bit, right? But over the last 3 days, I've been trying to avoid that. So I'm looking at some alternate options. What can I kind of snack? So I don't know. What are your thoughts about this Quest, which you have those protein chips and those little cookies when you feel so. I'm not sure, but I just thought that once in a way to kind of indulge and just not feel okay. I've gone in a bag of chips and finish that off. So just getting your thoughts on that.
Um, it's an interesting one, because there's still processed, ultra processed food. So, if
Mm,
you were to say compare, oh, if I had an apple over, I don't know, Quest bag of chips, or if I had some nuts, you know,
yeah,
you're kind of going for something that's been like processed. But if you are, say, then comparing something to like an actual potato chip to the Quest chips, and if you are going to be using it once in a while, it could be an alternative to help you stick with the plan a little bit longer, to help satisfy
mm,
certain cravings. So it really depends on, is it going to become an unhealthy habit? Is it going to be one of those things
right,
where you decide, right, okay, every day after lunch, I have a bag of Quest chips? Or
yeah,
is it I'm really craving the crunch. I tried the nuts, they weren't working for me. Maybe I'll just have the bag of the Quest chips today. So it really depends how you implement it into your lifestyle. Because if you're just replacing one set of junk for another set of junk, you're gonna, set yourself up for a sort of failure in the long term.
right,
But if it's all about sort of, once in a while you fancy having something. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't have certain items. I do. I'm in a different stage of my journey now where I will, occasionally have some fries, or I will have uh actually there's Quest, they do some peanut butter protein bars, which I actually quite like. It's like a peanut butter cup, and
okay,
it's got chocolate on the outside. But I'm using it as a chocolate replacement. So I know that rather than going for an actual chocolate bar, I'm going to use this because
hmm
I'll get some protein out of it. It doesn't have any actual sugar in there, but I know it's an unhealthy junk. And I know that what I'm doing is I'm not going to get any real benefit from it, but it's something to satisfy a craving that I'm having.
got that. Thank you.
Ideally, you want to try and get your nourishment and your nutrition in from your meals. And then if after that you still feel like you need a little something, then that's when you can sort of try to have, an alternative like a Quest bar or the Quest chips.
Okay, got that. Thank you.
Yuri, how about yourself? Was there anything that you found interesting, or something that you have managed to sort of implement in from the last 3 days of the lessons that have been uh, sent out so far?
Um, let's say the uh, as you suggested for me that the protein amount needs to
Yeah.
be a little bit bigger, and then in the past, let's say is it 3 days already? Is it 2 days still?
Yeah, this is the third day.
Um, cutting off curve completely is easier for me rather than reducing the amount.
Yeah.
So which is good. It's I found it easy, and then I feel like I can continue for that one. But there the increasing the amount of protein and then eating that amount lunch and dinner is a little bit challenge for me, because I feel like it's too much. But yet since you're not taking carb, I understand that you need to take, like, to not to lose your muscles and all that, you need to add something else, which is supposed to be protein, I believe. So
Yeah.
so that part is a bit difficult for me.
Yeah, and I think it's a change in sort of eating habits as well. Did you find that you felt like you were almost forcing yourself to eat extra, or was it just that you just didn't have the appetite for it?
For let's say for today's lunch, it was yummy, so I finished it. But after
Okay,
that, I felt like too much. And then
okay.
until the dinner time, well, maybe it's a good thing, but until dinner time, I didn't want to eat anything.
And that's
What
actually
did you
perfect
say?
because that is actually the goal. You know, you ate what you needed to eat, you got your nourishment, but you didn't have the
Mm,
need to snack.
right.
Which is actually the way, you know,
Great. Great. But
you should actually be eating for long-term progress. If you're not hungry, then you're not going to snack on. Usually when people snack, it tends to be either, like I think Sarita's mentioned here, out of habit or, you know, boredom. But if you were full from lunch and it stopped you from snacking, you're then not reaching for food, which is easy to overconsume. Things like potato
right.
chips or biscuits or
True, true.
sweets and chocolates. I
Yeah,
think
so I
Sarita's,
didn't even take it. I didn't even, reach for the nuts. When I get hungry or I want something crunch, then I go for nuts and then
yeah.
the walnuts and all that.
Mhm.
But this afternoon is like I felt completely full, but it was not like comfortable full though. A little
Okay.
bit heavy full.
Okay. And I think that's just the way it's a change in the way you usually eat. What you'll realize is as you get on, like as you get further into the plan, once you feel like you're getting a sufficient amount of protein and you're doing okay with how you're eating, you will naturally feel that you can eat a bit more of the protein. And then you may scale back on certain things. And that's kind of when things like intermittent fasting comes in. So if, for example, you know, you've had a sort of a heavier lunch or a dinner, you might find that you're able to not have breakfast and actually go longer between meals. And actually going longer, so not having the urge to eat and snack between meals is actually a really good sign of insulin sensitivity. So when you feel frequent hunger and you feel the urge to eat, you know, every couple of hours, that basically means that your body is burning through what you're eating too quickly and your blood sugar levels are not stable. If you can go 4 hours or more without eating, it's basically a sign that your blood sugar levels are pretty stable. And you know, you're not going to get that sort of slump in the way you're feeling, you're not going to get hangry. So they should be easier to control how you're eating. But again, obviously, this has only been 3 days in, which is probably why it feels uncomfortable at the moment. But naturally, your body will start to signal off when it's genuinely nourished. I'm not going to use the term full, I'm going to use the term nourished. Sarita is saying that she's having a problem with her button, but Sarita, you can just type in anything into the chat box if you want to add anything. Um, Miriam, how did you find? I know you're following the meal plan and sort of changing it as necessary, but how have you sort of found the lesson so far, either on sort of the clearing out, the and the shopping?
Yeah, so I think the shopping I did over the weekend, so I kind of just try to get everything I would need to the extent that that was possible, or like replacements, which has been okay. I think psychologically, you mentioned this. I'm struggling with the clearing out just because I don't like food waste. So there's certain things that I'm just like, oh, I know this should go, but and then some of the stuff it's also like I don't eat cereal, but my husband eats cereal religiously. So I know like I can't get rid of cereal. The same thing with bread. So I'm
Mm,
just looking at it and I'm like, okay, I can't have you, but you're there.
mm,
And I think that's where the self-control element has been really key. Um, so that's fine. Yeah, I think definitely feel a bit more motivated just in terms of how this week has gone. And as I mentioned, because I'm like fasting, so it's been helpful in terms of trying to like keep a bit disciplined. But I think
mm.
in terms of like snacking later on, that like in the evening, like after I break my fast, that's when I get like, it's almost like, oh, the hunger catches up with
Mm.
me. So I really have been like trying to stick to the nuts, so the almond nuts and the fruits for snacking. And then I also like air fried some like okra, so I can just get that crunch if needed.
Yeah.
I haven't had much of it. I don't think I've really actually had it. Just to provide you with like some snacks for when I get hungry later on.
Have you found that you are getting in sufficient protein because you are fasting? Like, do you feel that it's enough?
I think since you said to like not worry about the quantity, I've
Mhm.
definitely like doubled up on my protein. So where I would typically have like one chicken breast, I'm now having two. And that's been helpful, but I definitely still feel hungry. But I'm not sure how much of that. No, I think I'm definitely still hungry because I was like, I don't know if it's psychological because I'm used to eating to my heart's content,
Mm.
especially over the Christmas period, or is it psychological? So I think, yeah, most nights I've been going to bed and I'm like, I'm starving, but I think
Oh.
a lot of it is probably in my head.
Actually, it might even be slightly physiological as well, because what happens is your body is used to running off glucose, which is generally sort of the fuel source when you are eating carbohydrates. But when you take that away, your body's like, oh, where's the food gone? Because that's what it's expecting. It's expecting glucose to be coming in, but it's not getting that glucose. So it's ramping up the hunger to make you feel, right, go and eat something, go and eat something. And it will take a couple of days, but eventually what will happen is your body will like, okay, there's no glucose coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the fat that's stored in the body and I'm going to use that for energy. So this is why I have suggested that I want you to eat so that you're not feeling hungry. And by getting in sort of sufficient protein and even adding in, a little bit of extra fat, whether that's through like avocado, drizzling, say, extra virgin olive oil onto your veggies, or even adding butter, if you're having, say, cauliflower rice that Prabha had earlier, adding in some good fats into your meal can help with that sort of satiety and help you to start to feel full. And then hopefully within the next couple of days, you'll realize, oh, I'm not feeling hungry anymore. It will just take a little bit longer, depending on how much your body is used to taking in or using glucose for energy. But hopefully, if you are able to sort of try to use things like the extra protein and the extra added fats, then that should make it a little bit easier. And so from tomorrow onwards, you will start to get more of the lessons on the actual nutrition side. So, we'll talk about the protein element, we'll talk about fats, we'll talk about carbohydrates. So you'll start to understand further why you are eating the way that you are eating. Has anyone found any interesting or helpful strategies to kind of get going? I think Sarita has added in here, she has some nuts and a small piece of chocolate. And for anyone that doesn't know, these Nix chocolates, they're available in the UK, and I tend to actually get my family members to bring them across to me, but you can also get them on Amazon. I think Amazon do deliver, not Amazon Singapore, but Amazon UK. They do deliver here into Singapore. I think you just have to pay a small delivery charge, but they are sugar-free chocolates, and I've had these chocolates, and I agree. I actually find them delicious and help to sort of manage my sweet tooth. And I know probably you mentioned that you enjoyed the cauliflower rice, as that kind of gave you
Yeah.
the feeling of having something. Has there been
Yeah.
any other strategies that anyone else has found that has really worked for them so far? Because I know it's only the start.
I have found myself eating ice because I want ice cream. And it's managed to be helpful when I'm like sitting on the couch watching like late night reality TV show with my husband, and I'm used to having a Ben and Jerry's in my hand. So yeah, I just have a cup of ice, just to have something.
That's incredible. I guess sometimes it could also just be, the action of doing something with your hands in your mouth because you're so used to, like snacking in front of the TV. And that sounds like a great 0 calorie little snack. So
Yeah, it's
that's an
been my
interesting
little
one.
weird hack.
I actually think that's really interesting because I've never thought about that before, but I actually think you could be onto something there, Miriam. Sarita has written cliche, but upping my protein and fat, I'm now fuller for longer with no room for junk, which I guess Yuri is kind of similar to what you said earlier with you being full from your lunch that you didn't feel that you need to snack. Sarita, I saw that when you've been uploading your meals, you've also been adding sort of extra collagen into your coffee as well. You can maybe type out there how that has been for you. Like, how does that is that just to kind of get you to increase your protein throughout the day? And while we're waiting, Prabha, has there been anything else that you found has worked for
Oh,
you? Oh,
one
Yuri?
thing, one thing. I carry it's like a big bottle of water all the time with me, and then
Yeah,
I'm drinking a lot more water than usual. I think that
amazing.
helps me keep feel myself full.
Yeah. And that's great because sometimes people mistake thirst for hunger. So it's amazing, you're getting in your water, and when it's with you, it's almost like a reminder to keep drinking. Another hack that I quite like, and I used to go through a lot of like diet sodas and things, but I've actually switched over to sparkling water with like lemon or lime in there. And that's really helped, when you're feeling parched and you kind of want something to just chug down, just to kind of help. You feel like you're drinking something, but it's not just water. For me, sparkling water with lemon, even if it's like a Perrier with like lemon flavored, that really works for me as a good strategy as well. Right, as we're sort of finishing up for today, does anyone have any questions? We've got Sarita responding, is to increase my protein and stop me from having coffee on an empty stomach. As someone who suffered from elevated cortisol and adrenal fatigue, coffee on an empty stomach was a no-no for me. Okay, and that's great. She's found a strategy to help sort of increase protein and not make it so that it's on an empty stomach. Any questions for sort of going forward?
Yeah, Jasmine, I have just one question. So even
Sure.
even though you're cutting out carbs, right? Like in terms of protein, your veggies and everything. I mean, is there like a calorie intake for the day? Because obviously you're trying to kind of keep yourself full, so you don't want to kind of exceed that calorie limit, right? Because it's good that you're not eating carbs, but still I think you have to stay within a certain limit. So is that something which we need to follow? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts on calories is yes, you do need to be in a calorie deficit. But when you are eating things like protein, for example, they have a higher thermic effect in the body. So actually, you will burn a lot more calories eating, say, 100 calories of chicken versus 100 calories of rice. So when, especially with sort of within this first week, I have not spoken about calories purely for the basis because you will feel extra hungry. And what will happen is when you sort of switch over and you start to focus on vegetables and you're focusing on whole foods like fish and chicken and meats and healthy fats, your body will start to naturally eat what it needs. What I can do though is if each of you kind of still feel like you want to be within a certain calorie limit, I can actually calculate that for you and I can add it into your meal diary plan. But what I will need from you is if you can send me a direct message with your weight and your activity level, I can calculate a sort of a rough gauge of, what it should be. Usually people are a bit shocked when I calculate their calorie intake because they're like, oh, that's so much more than I'm used to or what I expect to eat. But actually, what you don't want to do is significantly reduce calories to the point where your body then is utilizing your muscle for energy, because you want to maintain your muscle mass while burning fat.
Exactly. I actually, my concern was opposite. So it's like since eating protein mainly, and that as I mentioned, it is difficult to take more.
Yeah.
Then end up not having enough calorie, and then end up losing muscles is something that I do wish not to happen.
Yes,
So
of
yeah,
course.
that's. So how to control, like not to eat too less is as my I think it's
So, like Sapna mentioned in the last meeting, she tries to add in like protein shakes. So what she's doing is sometimes it can be difficult to eat protein, but actually if you're drinking it, it's just easier to sort of, I guess, chug it down. Sarita's also using it into her coffee. So things like collagen or whey protein, even plant-based protein. If, for example, you're having, say, yogurt, what I tend to do is I will sort of mix in a scoop or of either the whey protein or collagen powder just to increase that protein quantity. Certain
I
foods
see.
like, say, cottage cheese are also quite high in protein. It doesn't necessarily always have to be meat-based protein. You will get protein in milk. You will get protein in things like cheese. And for example, Parmesan cheese has quite a high protein ratio in comparison to other cheeses, which may have a higher fat content. So if you can, do you drink coffee, Yuri?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So how do you take your coffee? Do you use milk? Do you have it
It's
black?
straight. It's straight.
Okay, so it's just black. Okay. Have you ever attempted to try something like collagen into your coffee?
Well, I do sometimes. I mean, when I had that oil before, I added MCT oil.
Oh, MCT oil. That's actually a fat. That's not a protein.
Okay.
And that yeah. So the MCT oil is a way to increase ketones in your body, which
Right.
will then help. Actually, if sometimes when you're transitioning from being glucose burning to being fat burning, having things like MCT oil can kind of help that transition, because your body will then start getting used to using ketones as a fuel source as opposed to waiting for the glucose.
So what was the powder you mentioned that
It's
Sarita is
collagen.
adding?
It's a
Collagen. Okay.
collagen powder. So
Collagen.
it's a form of protein. You can get it in Singapore. And she's asking if you can get it in Singapore. You can get it in Singapore. I can send you a link later on to show you,
That's
which
great.
one I
Yeah.
use. And you can find it in cold storage. You can add it to your Redmart order. So it's actually widely available here in Singapore. I am coming up to the end of today's session. If you guys have any further questions, just drop me a DM either in the group or directly, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. And I think the next session is on Friday. It's at 12:30. Hopefully you can all join in on Friday. Yeah, you can keep me updated again via the app as well if there's anything in the meantime. So I hope you all have a lovely evening, a lovely day to you, Sarita, because I know you're based in the UK. And I will catch up with you soon. So good night, everyone. And yeah, speak soon. Have a lovely evening.
All right. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.